So I want to make my video here because I think one thing I've started to realize over time is that there are times when I should like post rants on my main channel, and then there's times when I should start backing off. And I think now is the time I should start backing off because I'm getting a whole bunch of new subscribers and they don't really know who I am. And a lot of people, I didn't really realize, but a lot of people go to my channel to like escape all that. And when I post videos about it, I think they're like, no, I don't want to think about it. So that's why I got the Fuck Blue Drake channel. So today I want to talk about the election, not because I have like a big bomb that I want to drop on the world, because everybody's talking about the election. So I personally think I have some pretty interesting views on it, but so does everybody else. So I'm not even going to sit here and pretend that I want to impose this on my entire fan base. But I like having this channel just to, what's the word? Splurge. The thing that I want to talk about the election for is, and I'm not a Trump supporter, but I want to say the amount of foul play that went into the Democratic nomination and election process is unprecedented, in my opinion. And again, I'm not a Trump supporter. I think whenever I say this, people are like, "Oh, Blue Drake, you're just a Trump." No, I'm not. I'm not actually at all. In fact, those who know me, I'm probably a lot more Democratic than anything. Although, with that said, I feel like this should be a lesson to the world. Although I don't know if it should count as a lesson because it's over now. It's not like, oh yeah, we learned our lesson, let's try again. No, it's over. But the amount of manipulation that occurred in this election is just obscene. It is just ridiculous. And I think that what has happened is kind of like the world paying for its sins. Like the Democratic Party's arrogance and its attempt at manipulating the system, and its, man, I want to even go as far to say just blatant corruption. This is the world paying for its sins. And let me explain a little bit more. Like, so one of the things that I'm obviously really invested in, and one of the reasons I don't want this video to like blow up or get big, is because I'm genuinely concerned. Like, I'm genuinely afraid. But YouTube has actually been meddling in the election process on an unprecedented scale, to the point where I'm literally afraid to voice my opinions because I feel like they might actually damage my channel on purpose. Philip DeFranco said that he got cut from YouTube Rewind because he didn't voice his support for Hillary, and I believe that. YouTube also demonetizes videos that talk about Hillary. The largest, most branded YouTube channels that are incredibly close to YouTube's core infrastructure voiced their support for Hillary in a very suspicious way that almost felt like a brand deal. Like, it really did. When Casey Neistat and a lot of other large YouTubers released their support for Hillary, it looked the exact same as a sponsored brand deal. And I have a lot of experience watching how those play out in YouTube. For instance, if there's ever a product and there is a product team that has committed to paying a lot of money to influencers, what happens is they usually structure an entire behind-the-scenes campaign, and they hit all of their influencers that they want to pay to do the product at the same time. And then everybody releases that review or that paid brand deal simultaneously, which is why it's really, really easy to spot them. You know, like if there's ever like a, I still remember IX approached me to do a brand deal, and I actually ended up not doing it. But then I saw like 15 other people do an IX review on the same day. Not even saying that it was sponsored, like, but obviously it was, just because I knew that they were approaching people. And then suddenly, the same day that IX, even though it's been out for a while, starts doing paid brand deals, everybody on the embargo release date releases an IX review that they don't even say is sponsored, even though it obviously is. I saw the same thing with MechWarrior Online. I saw the same thing, obviously, with almost all of EA's games and Ubisoft's games. And the videos that the YouTubers like Casey Neistat and whatever that one girl is, she did that stupid... Hold up. No, whatever. I'll think of it later. That one older lady that like became a host of a show and watched the Fine Brothers doing a reaction of teens watching her thing. I don't know. Whatever. Grace something. Grace Helbig. Like, they all released their endorsements of Hillary at the same time, even though Hillary had been running like this entire time. There is no reason that that support should have been coordinated. And then on top of that, if you haven't noticed, there's been a whole bunch of videos and a whole bunch of things saying to go out and vote. And if you notice, who are the people who are making all of the videos that are like, go out and vote, do your duty? It's Obama, it's Joe Biden, it's hell, a couple of them are even Hillary and stuff like that, all Democratic Party members. And here's the reason that they're doing that. You don't see Trump making a go vote video on YouTube. You don't see fucking Mitt Romney making a go vote video on Facebook that is endorsed by Facebook and endorsed by YouTube. The reason they're doing that on YouTube is because they know that millennials are on YouTube and Facebook, and they know if they just say to go vote, even if they don't say go vote for Hillary, it's not going to matter because Hillary dominates the millennial vote. And if they can just encourage millennials to go vote at all, they know that Hillary is going to get a higher margin of millennial voters. That was the reason. And YouTube was endorsing that. And Spotify and Facebook were all endorsing that, all very left-leaning companies. And I was actually even asked to do a go vote video. You remember that whole like, oh, you could register to vote in 60 seconds video or whatever? I was asked to do that, and I was like, why would I don't care. I'm not going to do that. But YouTube got a whole bunch of people to do that, and it looked very much like a paid brand deal. And even though it was kind of masked as like a, it doesn't matter who you're voting for, it was a strategic move specifically to support Hillary. And then on top of that, not even talking about the nomination process, not even talking about the rest of that, this entire system, this entire election has been attempted to be manipulated. I don't want to say it was rigged, because obviously it wasn't rigged, but the amount of effort that both companies and candidates went to manipulate the system is unprecedented. And I feel like it made me uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable. It didn't make me feel like I had a freedom of opinion. It made me feel as if there was a it felt like a brand deal. It felt like a bunch of people jumping on brand deals, and I was just like, I don't want to do the brand deal. And they were like, all right, you sure? Like, yeah, I don't. Are you gonna fuck me up if I say that I vote for Trump, even though I didn't? Like, I didn't. Don't. And that scares me. And I feel like this result, Trump becoming the president, is the world paying for its sins. And in fact, I'm almost happy that it happened. Again, like, not a Trump supporter at all. I really, not even taking into consideration his policies. Like, I like having presidential candidates that are professional, and not just professional from a business standpoint, but just mature, more mature than me. I enjoy candidates that are mature and have mature opinions. Like, not even, it doesn't matter if they're for women voting or not. Like Mitt Romney, I even like Mitt Romney. Like, he's very mature in how he explains and showcases his opinions. He's very professional. He's just a gentleman. I enjoy that, and I like having the president be a role model for, like, my son. Even in most cases, not even taking into consideration their policies, because I feel like the president doesn't nearly have as much much control as everybody thinks that he does. But I think that he is kind of like he's a figurehead for the country, and I feel like he should be somebody to look up to, not just, you know, because he's popular, but because he has mature has a mature personality, and he treats things professionally. That's what I really want. But I feel like Trump is what America deserves. And you can take that both negatively and positively, because that's kind of how it's meant. You know, like, obviously, I don't really look up to Trump. I feel like he's kind of a Molotov cocktail, as a lot of people have said. But I think that after all of the real foul play that went on the Democratic side to force Hillary into the White House, like, force her, like, it was, I feel like this is what America deserves for trying that. This is what the Democratic Party deserves. Like, they flew too close to the sun, trying to exercise how much they can manipulate everyone, and they fell on their fucking faces. And I don't know. I think that's a good thing. I don't like that this had to happen. I genuinely, like, looking back, I genuinely think Bernie probably would have won against Trump, because Bernie is the same thing as Trump is. Bernie is like a let's burn down the fucking system, like, I think Bernie would have won against Trump, but that's just, the Democratic Party was too controlling, and they would not allow that to happen. It was not even, they would not even, and you have to keep in mind, the Democratic Party is private. I don't think people understand, like, the Democratic Party is not a government entity. It is a private organization of people that are accumulated who have similar views. The Democratic nominee, like, the election process for the primaries, is not a government-run operation. It is not government run. In fact, the party system, because it is a party system of influential individuals, they have made it appear as if the nomination and the primary election process is a part of the primary governmental system, when it is not. It's not, which means it's way easier to rig, because they are under no fucking obligation to be honest at all, and they are not. They were not. And they completely fucked themselves over by trying so hard to, I don't know. And the problem is here's the thing. Like, I actually believe in what the Democratic stands for publicly. Whether they're able to achieve it or not, I don't know. Obviously, my wife is a huge environmentalist, and I am not nearly as much an environmentalist as her, but I do think that that is important. I think alternative energy sources are not only really cool, but I also feel like it's entirely okay for us to sacrifice a little bit of our well-being and comfort in order to explore alternative energy sources. Not necessarily because we have an obligation, but I think that just discovering new alternative energy sources and trying to employ them, that's cool. It's interesting. It's awesome. Honestly, even if coal was, like, totally clean and totally fine, I would still be for pursuing alternative energy sources, just because I think that's interesting. And I think understanding all of the different ways that we can get energy out of our environment and out of just our universe, is very cool, and it's worth exploring. So I mean, I believe in that. I believe in pursuing not just, you know, equality among genders and stuff like that, but I believe in really understanding the divides between races and ethnicities and stuff like that. And I'm always kind of in between. You have people that are really hardcore about gender equality to a point where it's not just about equality, it's about kind of, it's like affirmative action, where you essentially give a certain gender or a certain ethnicity an unfair advantage, with the thought that if you give them an unfair advantage against somebody else who already hasn't, I don't really believe in that. But I do believe in understanding more what causes ethnic friction between not just races, but just cultures and stuff like that. I believe in all of that. But at this point, I feel like the Democratic Party has become so, what's the word, comfortable with being corrupt because they believe that I believe in all those things. I don't believe it's one of those things like alternative energy. I am not the kind of person where it's like, I think alternative energy is so important that I am willing to undermine other people's freedoms and try to manipulate other people to make sure that I force them to do that. That's my problem. Like, I don't feel like it's I don't feel like my opinions and my interests and my beliefs are more important than other people's opinions and beliefs. And I feel like that's what the Democratic Party has become. It's not like a, hey, we think this is important, you should look at this. It's, this is more important whether you believe it's important or not, and we know what's better for you. And don't get me wrong, I feel like a lot of the things that they're pursuing are important, but I feel like as soon as you get into that mentality where it's like, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, what I believe in is more important than what everybody else thinks because everybody else is stupid and naive, there's no end to that. Like, there's no end. Like, that's what Hitler thought. You know, like, we should kill Jews because even if people don't want that, that's what is best for everyone, even if everybody disagrees with me. Like, that's ridiculous. It's just in the opposite direction. It doesn't matter. You should never do that ever. Even if you believe that your views are right, you should never resort to manipulation and corruption in order to make your views take precedence over other people's views just because you think that everybody else is naive. And that's what this is. That's what this is. I think this is the Democratic Party getting too comfortable with having their way and too comfortable with their arrogance and their self-assuredness and their disregard for other people's beliefs and ideas, and it has culminated in this huge upheaval of the entire political system. And I don't want to say that's a good thing. It's not a good thing, but it's just what had to happen. I wish that it had never come to a point where the Democratic Party was this fucking bad, where that was actually, where this was even possible. Like, I feel like the fact that Trump was even possible shows how bad the system was to begin with how bad everything was. And I wish we hadn't gotten to that point. Like, I wish that we could just have had a normal election between two candidates who were respectful and who had differing opinions, but were respectful of each other's differing opinions, and that at the end of the day, you know, like Mitt Romney, Jesus Christ, like, looking back, Mitt Romney was not, I like Mitt Romney. Like, he had different views from me, but he was respectful of that, and he wasn't a dick. Like, I wish God, I would have, if Mitt Romney could have been elected, that would have been fucking great, dude. That would have been fantastic. I would have loved that. Hell, I would have maybe even voted for Mitt Romney over Hillary, to be honest. Or Paul Ryan. I love Paul Ryan. You know, we have different views. He has a completely different, I mean, he's kind of, there's some things, like, he even doesn't believe in climate change and stuff like that, which obviously drives my wife crazy. It doesn't drive me as crazy, but I'm like, I feel like climate change should be taken a little bit more seriously. Even if it is a hoax, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, but why? Just take it into consideration, like, what's the worst that could happen? And I know a lot of people say that's like, oh yeah, but it can be abused for, like, corruption and stuff like that. And God, maybe they're right, but I don't know. I wish it was possible to be more analytical and more careful of things that could potentially be bad without everybody always jumping to the conclusion that the other side is using it for corrupt purposes to gain political leverage, which is a shame because that is probably the case. Like, whether or not climate change is even real, it would be hard not to believe that people are using climate change in order to gain political leverage, which would be a shame, because it would be a shame if people are using it to gain political leverage and climate change is also real. That would be a terrible reality if that actually occurs. But that's what happens. That's what happens when you start resorting to corruption in order to have your views take precedence. I don't know. That's the problem. That's the problem. You shouldn't do that. So yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much it. I wanted to make this total rant. I would probably think out this more if I was posting this on my main channel, but I don't want to do that. I like having this little Fuck Blue Drake channel just to talk about stuff. I think my main channel, I'm just gonna start making it be more about, like, ironically, I'm gonna make it be more just games, no bullshit. I don't think I'm gonna use that as my tagline anymore, just because it's hilarious how like polarizing that becomes. Like I'll post like a game that people don't like, and they'll be like, "I thought you said no bullshit," and it's like, "Oh my god, just because you don't like this game, it's ridiculous." But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know. I think honestly, the only thing I'm kind of upset about, besides the fact that, you know, I wish Trump was a little bit more like Mitt Romney, and more respectful and mature. The only problem, like, it doesn't hurt me as bad. I'm just kind of like, yep, this is what was gonna happen if everybody kept going along this route. But I have a lot of Democratic friends that are probably gonna be like really fucking upset and just take this seriously and be like depressed, and God, now I have to deal with that for the next couple of months, potentially for the next 4 years. I have a feeling Donald Trump is probably going to get reelected as well. This whole like 8 years thing has been going on for the past like 4 elections. We'll have to see. I'll just have to like deal with this until I'm 34. Fuck it. I don't know. I'm ready for this though. I really enjoyed. I know this is polarizing. I know not everybody agreed with Obama. I really enjoyed Obama. He was like a perfect candidate for me. He was aligned with all of my views. He was incredibly respectful. He acted really, really mature. He was inspiring. The things that he said and the way that he said them were just really made me believe not just America, but in a globalized world where everyone could be on good terms. Like I don't know, he was really good, and I feel like I had that for a really great critical part of my life where I enjoyed looking up to him, and I knew it wasn't going to last forever, and I think I'm ready for Trump. I think I'm okay with this. I think I've had my way enough to be okay with seeing what happens when the drastically opposite happens. Like, I think I'm okay with that. I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen. Our entire world might catch on fire, but if we're really that close to oblivion all the time, like, maybe we deserve oblivion. I believe in having a better relationship with Russia. I actually do like Putin a lot. I actually like Putin a lot, which is hilarious. Like, listening to how Putin talks. I mean, Putin is somebody who I have differing views with. Like, he really hates homosexuals and stuff like that, and I have no problem with homosexuals. I came from fucking music camp, so like that's fine with me. But Putin's knowledge of international policy, I think, is really what's the word? Comprehensive. Like, I think he has a really good understanding of international policy and foreign relations. And I think that Trump is also on good terms with Putin. So potentially having a better relationship between Russia and America, I think that would actually be a good thing. Even though Trump is kind of like a fireball, if that's a fireball that puts us on good terms with Russia, that would be great. I love Russia. I have no problem with Russia. Again, Russia is one of those things where it's like they're different and they have different policies and stuff like that, and they have a different culture, some of which doesn't align with what I would agree with, especially their incredible hatred of homosexuals, which I just don't agree with. But besides that, I love their people. I love the way they operate. I feel like America has become way too full of itself. I think America after World War II was the only country that hadn't just been completely destroyed by war just because it wasn't in close proximity. And ever since then, it has this false sense of superiority just because it wasn't in close proximity to war and didn't get itself destroyed, and it was relatively better off than everybody else. I think it's somehow got this idea that it is better than everybody else, and now everybody else is catching back up. I think it's time for America to get a harsh bite of reality to the face and be like, oh, maybe we're just fucking normal people and we should just act that way. I like that. I feel like Trump's Middle Eastern policies are terrible. But at the same time, I think that's just a humanitarian concern, unfortunately. The people in the Middle East, the people in such as, like Syria and stuff like that, there are good people there. They're mixed in with a lot of bad people, and I feel like one of the biggest problems with taking action and containing that situation has been our lack of committing to just taking the easy path that is abusing their human rights and not taking humanitarian concerns into consideration and just bombing the fuck out of everybody. That's essentially what Russia does. Like, Russia doesn't give a fuck. Like, just like if they see somebody, if they see like a terrorist group in there, they're like, yeah, bomb the fuck out of it. Oh, there's civilians there? I don't give a shit. Are they Russian civilians? Then I don't fucking care. And I feel like Trump's views kind of align with that. He's more concerned with American lives than he is anybody else, and anybody else, just their lives aren't as valuable. That's not something I agree with. I feel like we should take that into consideration, but who knows? I mean, I don't know. That's one of those things where a lot of people are like, yeah, I want security. I think Trump is going to make America more secure. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I mean, honestly, he might. Between his and Putin's worldviews, they might just pummel the fuck out of the Middle East and kill a whole bunch of people to the point where they just can't fight back. From a humanitarian standpoint, I don't agree with that. I think I'm okay with having my quality of life be diminished in the understanding that we're handling something abroad with more humanitarian concern. Obviously, for instance, like his call to ban Muslims entering the United States and stuff like that. I mean, that's very that's one of those things where it's just, would it potentially make America more secure? I don't know. Honestly, maybe. I don't know. You could potentially argue that of all the most violent terrorists in the world who are trying to enter the United States, yeah, they might all be Muslim, but even if that's only like 5%, like 5% of that religion, you are now blanking out a huge amount of innocent people in order to become a little bit more safe, which I don't know. I don't agree with that. I feel like, I mean, that's the same reason. Again, I mean, it really is kind of like comparing Hitler. I mean, that of all the things he's said, that's a very Hitlery thing to say. I mean, Hillary's even said some Hitlery things too, but I think that one time was a very Hitlery thing to say. I mean, that's just, it's not racism. It's not racism, but it is something that is judging a wide ethnicity by a very small percentage of the problem, which I don't agree with that idea. I obviously I have a completely different view on how people act. And sorry, maybe let me be more clear. I have a completely different view on like racism. I actually believe in racism. I believe in racism. And people are gonna be like, what? But here's the thing. I don't believe in the racism of skin color. I know that doesn't make any sense. I've explained this to people before. Let me put it this way. You have You have genetics, right? I mean, there is a DNA makeup that makes you the way that you are. And they actually did this in foxes. They selectively bred foxes. They took wild foxes, and the wild foxes were obviously incredibly aggressive. And they found the most docile of those foxes, and they bred them in order to bring out that trait of being docile and being friendly towards humans. And over many, many generations, like 10, 15 years, they bred a fox that was docile and friendly enough to be a house pet. You know, even at the first the first iteration of the wild foxes, the most docile of those foxes were still incredibly aggressive. Like, you could not have them as a house pet. And they selectively bred those foxes to be like house pets. I think it's the same problem with people. I think people have genetic tendencies to be aggressive depending on their genetic makeup. The biggest thing, though, is I feel like that's not dependent on skin color. I feel like that has nothing to do with skin color. I mean, if you're a violent black person or a violent white person, the genetic aspect that contributes to you being violent has nothing to do with skin color. Nothing at all. I feel like, and it's the same thing with being Muslim. Like, I feel like if you have a violent Muslim or if you have a violent Christian, the genetic makeup that makes you who you are has nothing to do with your religious culture. There are so many things in the Quran, there are so many things in the Bible that you can focus on being either violent or peaceful. Like, there's violent and peaceful aspects of all of the religions. And if you have a violent Muslim, obviously they're going to focus on the violent aspects of that. If you have a violent Christian, KKK, you are going to focus on the violent aspects of that. It doesn't necessarily mean everybody who chooses to read the Quran is violent, or everybody who chooses to read the Bible is violent. There are violent people on both sides, and I think that what people do, is we take the easy way out, and instead of judging people based off of their true genetic makeup, we base them off of easily observable things that are still genetic, but not necessarily correlated. You know, like, it's not easy to look into somebody's body and be like, oh, there's your aggression gene, but it is easy to look at somebody and be like, oh, you're black, or oh, even you're Muslim, something like you're brown. You know, you have a certain ethnicity that it's easily observable. And I feel like humanity focuses more on things that are easily observable as opposed to things that actually contribute to the cause of the problem. And I think that's a big problem. Now, with that said, I think the reason people give credence to let me say specifically, that is why I believe in racism, definitively racism. If I could be racist against violent people, I would believe in that. I still believe if there is a way to genetically screen people, for genetic makeups that make them more prone to violence and stuff like that, I would support racism against that. I wouldn't support racism against black people or white people or ethnic cultural affiliations like Muslim and Christian. I don't really support that. If we could literally biologically screen people, however, for genetic makeups that are more directly correlated to violence, however, that is still definitively racism, and I would support it. It has nothing to do with skin color, though. So, I don't know. That's my thing. Then I was going to go on to something else, and I totally forgot what it was. I don't know. We've kind of just completely tangented. Oh, right, yeah. So, I think the reason that people do lean towards... what's the word? The reason people lean towards easily observable forms of racism, white, black, brown, stuff like that, is because it's easy, and it's also an evolutionary trait. Now, this is going to be hilarious because you may or may not believe in evolution, but it doesn't really matter, because even if you don't believe in evolution, this is still going to apply. For instance, let's take into consideration if you were in the jungle or whatever, or if you were in the Sahara Desert or something like that, and or the wildland. I don't fucking know geography. I'm a goddamn American. I don't know any of this shit. But let's say you're in the middle of like an African fucking Lion King style terrain, and you see a lion, and you're like, oh, cute lion, and you have no idea what a lion is. You're like, oh, it looks so fluffy, I'm gonna go pet it. And then the lion attacks you and beats the shit out of you. You're gonna be like, oh fuck, you run away. The next time you see a lion, you're gonna be like, oh shit, that's another fucking lion. That thing's gonna kill the fuck out of me. But let's say down the road, instead of a lion, you see like a mastiff, which is like a big dog, like a big house dog. Mastiff looks like a fucking lion. Here, I'll show you. Mastiff. Wait, hold up. Wait, maybe that's not what it is. I think it's a form of mastiff. Oh yeah, here we go. Bam. Let's say you see this, and you're gonna be like, oh fuck, that thing's gonna kill the shit out of me, because it's a lion, even though it's not a lion. It's just a friendly fucking house dog mastiff. That is a easily observed form of racism that would normally work in that context. If you see a lion and that lion is going to kill the shit out of you, the next time you see a lion, you're going to be like, that lion's going to kill the shit out of me. And you're probably never going to see a fucking mastiff, because mastiffs don't exist in the fucking African Saharan Desert or whatever. It's same with like zebras and stuff. Like if you're a lion and you see like a zebra, and then you see like a gazelle, you're like, huh, those things are similar. I can probably eat both of those and they're not going to fucking kill me. But now we've gotten into this, we've gotten into this situation where when you have conscious people who have personalities and are much more complex, it's still easy to fall back on those primitive observable judgments, as opposed to understanding who the people are first and then judging them based off of their personality, or even based off of their fucking genetical makeup that you can't even see. Stuff like that, because that's hard. That's not something that's been evolved. That's also why I like the internet, because the internet, you don't see people's skin color, you just see them as avatars and stuff like that, and you literally have to get to know the person first. I am totally fucking tangenting and just ranting right now, but I don't care. How long is this video? 36 minutes? I don't give a shit. I'm not uploading this to my channel, my main channel. I'm just gonna fucking rant. Anyways, but that's why I love the internet. I feel like the internet is the solution to racism. I really do. Like, I feel like the internet is, because on the internet, you only get to know the people's personality. You see that first. If you figure out if they're black or Asian or any of that shit, that comes after. That is like that is not the first thing that you encounter. And I think that's something that's important. I think that's kind of a good impact on hopefully the world, where we'll be able to not see whether people are Muslim or Christian or black or white, but the first thing we're gonna see is, do they believe in killing gays? You know, like if you go on a YouTube comment thing and you see somebody's like, fuck yeah, let's kill the gays, you're not gonna see if he's like white or black or anything. You're gonna be like, that guy wants to kill gays, and then you're going to see his avatar, which is probably gonna be like a gay killing guy, and you're gonna start being more racist against, you know, him and his ideals and the stuff that he affiliates with, as opposed to his skin color. So that's cool. All right, that's it. That's my thoughts on the election. 36 minutes, totally ranty. Did not organize this at all, but I didn't really want to, because I know that if I posted this on my main channel, there'd be a shitstorm, and I mainly just wanted to post it to you guys who just like talking about this shit. And I guess, yeah, all right. I will see you guys next time. I'll see you on my main channel. I'm going to record some content, and yeah, okay, love you, bye!